Here's the truth. Pakistan made more money from Afghan refugees than any country in modern history, and now it calls them ungrateful. For 40 years, the world believed a fairy tale. The story of Pakistan, the generous host, opening its arms to Afghan refugees out of brotherhood and charity. A beautiful myth, a global blockbuster. But behind the curtain, a business model. Because Pakistan didn't host refugees, it monetized them. Since 1979, the world has pumped over $21.5 billion into Pakistan in the name of Afghan refugees. $21 billion. Tell me, since when is a $21 billion payday a burden? And where did that river of money go? Not to the refugees. In 2024, out of 1.4 million registered Afghans, direct UNHCR cash reached only 11,262 people, less than 1%. The numbers alone collapse the entire narrative. The real question isn't whether the bill was paid, it's who pocketed the difference. Afghan suffering became a revenue stream, not compassion, accounting. To understand where the money went, rewind to the Cold War. When the Soviets invaded Afghanistan, millions of Afghan refugees crossing into Pakistan became the most profitable strategic asset Islamabad ever acquired. They weren't a liability, they were leverage. Refugees became physical proof, receipts, used to extract billions in Western aid. And Pakistan made sure all of it flowed through its own channels, blocking UN oversight and forcing refugees to register with one of 7 Islamabad-approved parties just to receive food. Your children's survival depended on your political obedience. That isn't humanitarianism, that is controlled dependency. And once the aid money dissolved into Pakistan's national budget, it freed the state's funds for the real priority: military expansion, proxy warfare, and domestic suppression. The world thought it was funding refugee camps. In reality, it was underwriting Pakistan's army and foreign policy. Meanwhile, Afghans paid the price twice. First as geopolitical pawns, then as cheap labor that built the skylines of Pakistani cities. Peshawar itself stands as their unpaid invoice. Even today, Afghan refugees inject $325 million annually into Pakistan's economy. A burden? No, an economic engine Pakistan has run on for decades. Now, after 4 decades of profit, Pakistan pushes a new story. Afghans are ungrateful. Really? Let's talk about ingratitude. The same state that spent decades milking Afghan suffering for dollars, now pretending it did a favor? The same establishment that built careers, budgets, and entire institutions on refugee aid, now acting like the victim? The same generals who cashed the checks, now shaming the very people whose misery funded their rise? This isn't charity. This is a landlord evicting the tenant after stealing their rent. And what they call hospitality was often extortion. Police tearing up legal refugee cards for bribes, night raids, arbitrary arrests, illegal detentions. This was never kindness. It was a protection racket wrapped in a flag. You cannot claim to be burdened by the very people who built your cities and kept your economy alive. Time to end the myth. Close the ledger. Settle the 40-year account. Who profited from the Afghan refugee crisis? Not the refugees, who lost homes, dreams, and dignity and received crumbs of the aid meant for them. The real beneficiary? The state that collected $21.5 billion, expanded its army, gained geopolitical leverage, and used Afghan labor to build its cities. For decades, Pakistan sold the world a story of sacrifice and brotherhood. But the numbers expose the truth. This wasn't charity, it was a transaction. This wasn't generosity, it was strategy. Pakistan wasn't a host, it was a well-paid contractor, and it was paid handsomely. So now, when those same refugees, after a lifetime of exploitation, are stripped of their assets, rounded up and expelled, ask yourself one simple question. Who exactly is ungrateful?